Guess who's back in the Bronx today? What's going on, everybody? Hope you had a great Father's Day. So, guess who's back? Giancarlo Stanton is officially being reinstated to the Yankees. This is right on MLBTradeRumors.com right now. And we're still waiting for two things, okay? Number one, he will be placed on the 40-man roster, but there's already a spot, so no move has to be made. But in order to get him on the 26-man, corresponding roster move will have to be made. So somebody's going to get optioned or DFA, and it's got to be Bat. So stay tuned. That's going to happen today. So whatever you do, if you're not subscribed to this channel, hit that button right now, okay? Enjoy the content. Hit the thumbs up, too. It's always greatly helpful and greatly appreciated. I'll make sure you don't miss anything, okay? Now, but the question of the day is, what did the Rafael Devers trade? What does it mean for the Yankees, okay? Why do I bring that up? Well, obviously, this is a huge trade. This is a blockbuster trade that happened weeks before the deadline. And I don't think there's going to be a trade at the deadline that's probably going to be bigger than this one. This is a monster trade, okay? San Francisco Giants just laid down the gauntlet to the Dodgers and maybe the Padres. I expect the Dodgers to counter. I expect the Padres to counter, right? If you haven't heard also, Roki Sasaki is shut down indefinitely now for the Dodgers. There's no timetable when he's going to start pitching again, throwing. He's still having problems in his shoulder. So that's a big blow to the Dodgers. But Shohei Ohtani is going to be starting in a couple days. He's going to be back on the mound after 22 months. So there's that too. But this move got a Yankee killer out of the American League East, brought him to the National League West. Hopefully he can become a Dodger killer now. And he's already said today that he's willing to play any position to help the Giants win. I don't know why he didn't say that about the Red Sox. Okay, but there's so much chatter going on right now about him having a beef with Breslow, the GM. We just don't know. But apparently said please politely trade him if he's not where he's wanted and he's not going to be appreciated and so on and so forth. There was chatter yesterday about him having a beef with Breslow about the Israel, Iran, Palestine situation going on in the Middle East, and I have no idea. We don't know what to believe. A lot of it could be just speculation. A lot of it could just be to get people fired up. Don't know. But the fact of the matter is, he's no longer here. Okay, they got two pitchers back, right? Jordan Hicks. The guy was Kyle Harrison, I think his name is, and they also got a pitching prospect and an infield prospect. They also cleared off $250 million off their payroll. Now deduct whatever they're going to assume from the two major league contracts. It'll be a little over $200 million savings that the Red Sox can reallocate elsewhere now. They can spend at the deadline. They can spend in free agency. And there's also chatter about them going after Kyle Tucker now in free agency. But I find that one a tough one because there's a lot of highly touted outfield prospects that they have right now that are fighting for at bats. Roman Anthony, you got all these other guys, Jaron Duran. There's chatter about Duran potentially being traded, but all these other guys, Christian Campbell, there wouldn't be a spot for Kyle Tucker, even though he's a star player. So, but crazier things have happened. Maybe they'll package one of these young at bats for a pitcher, maybe for pitcher with control years, maybe to the Mariners, right? There's a lot of talks about the Yankees. They should try to get Chris Sale, who's 36 or 37 from the Braves. He's got one more year. Maybe the Yankees can trade a bat or two or a package of prospects to the Mariners too for one of those young controllable starting pitchers on the cheap with several controllable years. This is why I don't think anything is off the table right now for the Yankees. And the guy that I have that I'm thinking about on the back end that people are going to be asking for is Jason Dominguez. Okay. He's already, shown he can perform at the major league level. He's got defensive capabilities he needs to work on. Yeah, sure. Base running, obviously, but he's a rookie. Those things will come as he develops, right? But he's a highly touted prospect, and he's going to be probably the first guy that teams ask for. But would you be willing to give him up for, Brian Wu or Bryce Miller, one of those guys from Seattle? I wouldn't be willing to give him up for 1 year, 1.5 year Chris Sale. But for one of those guys who have maybe four control years, different story. And they're on the cheap, different story. Okay, and I know a lot of fans also would prefer to trade Spencer Jones. I get it. There's still a lot of moving parts here, and it wouldn't only be a Jones or a Dominguez. It would be him and then some to get one of these pitchers, which is why I think the Yankees are probably lurking right around now, working the phone to try to strike as well, to try to get one of these guys before the Red Sox pounce and try to get one of these guys because they have a lot of tradable assets. The Red Sox. Number one farm in baseball. They've got a lot of highly touted tradable assets they can trade for pitching, right? and they need pitching. They need a number 2 to pair with Garrett Crochet. They don't have that yet. Okay, you get one of those Mariner pitchers and pair him with a Crochet. That's a nasty 1-2 right there in Boston. And this is an opportunity for the Yankees to maybe do something here. Yes, they need bullpen arms. Yes, they need a bat who can play multiple positions and maybe even serve as a leadoff hitter, which is why I keep bringing up a guy like Brendan Donovan. If they can pull off a trade like that, he addresses the needs. He doesn't hit from the righty side, but he addresses all those needs, and he can play and he can be a leadoff hitter, right? And a lot of these other guys that we're talking about do not provide leadoff capabilities. So, but we'll see. We'll see what they do. But this is what I mean, is what this trade means for the Yankees. I think the Yankees are they're gonna have to acknowledge, they're gonna have to realize that you're gonna have to probably give up a big piece to either get a player here or counter the move that the Red Sox could potentially make near the deadline. Because as of last night, they're shopping Yoshida, they're shopping Trevor Story. They didn't even shop Devers. Okay, they're shopping these 2 other guys right now. Okay, and if they can get some controllable assets for these guys, they could package them in a trade for a big arm, along with some of the prospects that they got. They got some talent yesterday in return in the prospect levels for Devers. So I would be keeping an eye out on that particular thing right there. And this is where I think the Yankees could be bold here and kind of sneaky, right? Just like the Red Sox were sneaky yesterday with the Giants. They knocked us on our butts. I did not expect that trade. At some point I thought maybe Arfield Devers would have been moved. But I just don't know. We don't know. None of us know the full story. We're hearing 3 different stories. But the real story is he's not here anymore. So the Yankees are not gonna have to face him in August and September, right? But they still will face a young, dynamic lineup, which to me this is kind of addition by subtraction for the Red Sox. So it's not. I mean, it's the logic can be flipped in a bunch of different ways. A lot of folks will call the Yankees clueless for doing what they do. Would they call the Red Sox clueless for trading their best hitter right after calling a bunch of the young guys? Or is it strategic for them, right? If it works, it's going to be considered strategic. If it doesn't work, who knows what it's going to be. This is why I'm not in favor of doing narratives and talking points, especially from other people who don't play the game but just don't understand, right? And I'm definitely not doing it on Twitter and all that stuff. So you give me your thoughts. What do you think about this? Does the Devers trade impact the Yankees? I think it's going to impact the Padres, because I think the Padres are going to have to make a move now to counter what the Giants did. And I think the Dodgers are going to have to make a move to counter what the Giants did. But I think the Padres are going to have to make the move. And I think this is where I think Jarren Duran comes into play from the Red Sox. They can get a young, dynamic outfielder there to replace Jurickson Profar, who signed with the Braves, who also have to replace him too because he got suspended for a bunch of the season for Peds. So this is where I think a guy like Luis Robert comes into play for a team like the Braves or even the Padres, not the Yankees, right? I'd rather have Everson Pereira here, right? I really would have Everson Pereira. And if you call up Everson Pereira, then you can bump up Spencer Jones if he's still here to AAA. And you've got 2 guys moving up. And Everson Pereira right now, he's on fire. Okay, and he hits from the righty side. He's a good defender. He's got his bat is back. So there you go there. But there's a chance they might try to shop, or they might be shopping Trent Grisham. We just don't know. There's a lot of stuff out there right now. But I think a lot of us have been blindsided by this trade yesterday, trying to figure out the ramifications of this trade. And there's a lot of suggestions that the Yankees should do this, should do that, and so on and so forth. But we'll see. I'm just going by the needs, right? They need some high leverage guys in the back end of the bullpen, maybe one righty, one lefty. Potentially a starting pitcher, but that still revolves around whether Luis Hill comes back and he's going to be good and healthy and productive. So they do have a rookie of the year coming back with 5 controllable years. So that's a good asset, okay? And it's not worth trading top prospect capital unless you're going to get a front-end starter with multiple controllable years back. And as much as I like Chris Sale, he does have an injury history. He's older, okay? And I wouldn't do it just to keep him away from the Red Sox. So I think the Red Sox are going to shoot for somebody different. So just something. You give me your thoughts on this, gang. Obviously, we'll be back later. Yankees start a set now against the Anaheim Angels. This is where they can pile up some wins. Next, I think it's 3 or 4 games against the Angels and 3 against the Baltimore Orioles. This is where the Yankees can start to pile up wins here to rebound from that embarrassing sweep by the Red Sox. But give me your take on this. Are you happy that Stanton's back? Who do you think gets DFA'd? Who do you think gets optioned? I mean, it's not many people that are going to be available to do that. It's going to be Oswald Peraza or Pablo Reyes. I can't think of anybody else, right? So, but stay tuned. More to come today. Go Yankees.